Rohit, first of all, thank you for taking out your time and joining us as a guest. It's an honor for us to have you on this session, and I'm pretty sure this would be a very interesting and exciting. And also, I think today we have a topic: the power of generative AI. Explore ChatGPT and beyond. So before we get started, I just quickly want to introduce our today's guest. Today's guest is Rohit Gupta. So he's currently working at HSBC as vice president. And currently Rohit has more than 15 years of work experience into data and data analytics. And over the past 15 years, Rohit has worked in the different domain and mainly into machine learning and deep learning side. So he has come from a different vast background, and also he is more into deep learning, statistical analysis, and predictive modeling. And he has a different level of skill sets. So one of the skill sets is he has a high proficiency in machine learning algorithm and techniques, including deep learning, decision trees, and clustering and time series analysis. And he also has expertise in data processing, feature engineering, and model optimization and maximize predictive accuracy. And also, he has also had a very good proven track record of designing and implementation of end-to-end data pipelines from collection of data and also cleaning the model and deploying and monitoring. And Rohit, it's great to have you here. So welcome once again with us for this session. So without taking much time, anyway, I'm not gonna waste. I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Oh, so thanks. Thank you. Let me share my screen. So first of all, thanks to all of you who have joined on Saturday morning. I know it's very difficult. So the topic for today is that the potential of a generative AI and the ChatGPT. How it will, what is generative AI, how suddenly the market is running behind what is the hype around the ChatGPT and the generative AI. What is the difference between the generative AI and the large language model? So these are the things, what are the risks associated with the generative AI? What are the opportunities and how you can define or shape up your business or use cases with the help of a generative AI or the ChatGPT? So that's the agenda for today. So let me start this one. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. Just an introduction. So before jumping into the generative AI and the ChatGPT, let me take a step back and talk around what is language model. So when you're typing something in your text, or when you're typing something in a WhatsApp, or when you're writing something in an email, based on the context, it will define the next word, right? So what is automatically it will define what is the weather today, or what is the weather for today, Bangalore, or what is the weather for now, tomorrow. So based on that past context, it will understand, based on the context, it will understand the next word prediction or the probability of the next word. So that is one thing which has been already, we have, this feature is already exist in our, if you send any messages over the LinkedIn. So they understand the context, and based on that context, they will define what is the probability of that particular words, right? When you do a Teams connection, or when you just put into a team chat, it understands the context, and based on that context, it will come with the probability of the words, right? So this is a thing which is already exists, which is a part of a language model. So as I said, so that's the same thing I just want to convey here. It will understand the context, and based on that context, it will most likely next word and less likely next word. So which word having a higher probability, it will automatically trying to predict. So now this is an important segment. What is large language model and how the language model is becoming defined over here, and how we can use into our industry point of view. So what is language model? So as I said, based on the past context, it will understand the next word probability, okay? Which having a higher probability. It's like it's raining It's raining cats, and automatically it understand and predict the next word is dog. Okay. Pizza was invented in Naples, Italy. So it understand the context, and the based on that context, it automatically predict the next word. Now we are just be, so I hope you understand with the language model. Now I am just be taking a one step ahead, and we'll talk on the generative AI language models. What are the generative AI? What is the difference between the language model? How language model is differentiate with the and how you can define a generative AI. So when you coming and see around this particular picture where the language model is start, so everyone ChatGPT 3, and it create the buzz in the market. And it directly kind of it directly impact the Google share as well, because once the OpenAI release with the ChatGPT 3, then there's a other models has been released. So one model ChatGPT 3, Flanty 5, or Falcon. So everyone is coming with the huge billions of parameters. They train their model. The data size is so huge, and based on that, they will start predicting that one. Once the GPT is released, or the GPT-3 or the ChatGPT-3, there's some challenges with that associated with this thing. I will come what is the risk associated with the ChatGPT or the large language model or the generative AI. But this is a kind of a journey we started from the new AI category is forming, which is a large language model. And based on those models, so these are the thing. Some key pointers is like a GPT-3, A, or the cohort. Palm is related. Palm has been released by Google. Then the Flantify again worked by Google and the Hugging Face as well, and Falcon. So Llama 2, which is more popular these days, Llama 1 and Llama 2. Okay, so the problem is associated with the ChatGPT 3. So this is a proper structure journey. So when we talk about the transformer, so just for giving a very high level overview, what is transformer, then what are the other stuff is becoming. So before 2017, if you see, the transformer is be released, right? So this is a breakthrough in terms of natural language processing. It has been developed by Google, from where the language model has been introduced. So when I said 2017, the transformer, we having an encoder and a decoder architecture. I'm not going in depth and talk around it, but I'm just be walk through the journey. 2017, the transformer has been released, which is totally a game changer. And 2018, we come with the BERT, bidirectional encoder, or BERT, which is also based on the language model. Then we have a text-to-text transformer. This is a go with the 10 billion parameters and released by 2019. Then Palm released, or the OpenAI coming into the model, which is be the talk around the large language model, which is becoming with the 5 billion parameters. And overall, this journey has been going with then later on, the Falcon is coming to the market. So, so if you see on the left-hand side, if you see in my screen, this is a transformer architecture. Either when you talk about the transformer architecture, so large language model train on the vast amount of data, and when they train vast amount of data, and that text data generate the natural text. So either you are talking about the NLP, earlier in the NLP, we are just doing a classification, question and answering, and all these things. But when the GPT-3 generated by OpenAI, Roberta by Facebook, or the different large language model is becoming, there's one thing is common. They based on the transformer architecture. The platform inside the transformer architecture is the main thing where the large language models, you can go train their models with the vast amount of data and trying to generate the data. So when you talk about the large language model, conversation, brainstorming, code generation, you heard about the code pilot these days, which has been developed by Microsoft. translation, summarization, so many use cases we will simple cover by a large language model. So as I said, text to text. So when I say large language model, understand that when I'm just be using a large language model, it will directly generate the text. It will not come and talk around it will just directly generate the text. It will not generate the image. It will not generate the video. It will not do some other activity. It just only generate the image. So that's why this is calling as a large language model. So now, when you're talking about the large language model, so large language models are being trained on these different data set they are using, web crawler, whatever the available data in the internet. They have taken all the data. Apart from that, they have taken the books, Wikipedia, and how many percentage has been contributed by each and every data set. They have trained that. So now coming to the large language model, so they are GPT-3, BERT, there's a T5. These are the different example of a large language model. So now I just skip and talk very precisely on the generative AI. So let's understand that. So in the large language model, when you're passing any input, it will generate the text. It will not generate the images. It will not generate the audios. It will not generate the videos. But when you're talking about the generative AI generate the images, generate the text, generate the audio, each and everything. So now I'll just be very specific on the industry perspective, how the generative AI can impacted by the industry and what are the most area companies looking and using a generative AI. The first one is a customer experience retention. So every organization, to be retail, to be healthcare, to be pharma, to be any domain you just talk around, where we need to, on a day-to-day basis, we need to focus on the customer experience. How we do more better on the personalization side. So that's the one thing. If you engage the right customer at the right time, obviously it will increase the revenue growth. So that's the one thing. And at the same time, it can reduce the operational and the cost side as well. So these are the particular sector where we can go and take the leverage of a generative AI. So these are the primary focus of the generative AI initiative. So let's understand more on the generative AI. Then we will, at the end, I'm just be walk through some coding side as well, or some use cases as well. So now you understand, okay, then what is the role of a machine learning? How generative AI is be differ from the machine learning. So in the generative AI, you having a data and labels, right? In a machine learning, you have a data which have some classification you want, and based on that data, it trying to understand the data pattern, and based on that, it will trying to predict the output, right? If I'm just passing an image of a cat, my machine learning model say that this look like a cat or the dog. So when I am using a generative AI, when I am saying the generative AI, can you write a bio? So in the slide 1 to last slide, I'm just using a generative AI. So I just use the generative AI. I just use some generative AI model, and I ask ChatGPT, okay, let's take up to call out the ChatGPT or the DAL2. I said, okay, can you write me a bio as a data scientist? And he just write that bio. So if I am passing the input, it trying to understand the pattern which is coming from the structured content, and it will generate the new content. So where the differentiates is becoming between the machine learning and the generative AI. So when you're talking about the generative AI, is an artificial intelligence that create the new content based on what he learning from the existing data. So the process of the learning from the existing content is called training, and the result of creating us calling as a static model. So you heard so many terminology, prompt, hallucinations. These are the terminology I will park at the end of the session. But let's understand the generative AI. In the generative AI, you're just passing the input. Generative AI model can understand and it trying to create the new content. So next time, if you're writing for a content creation, so generative AI is the best platform. You can go and avail that services. So as I said, generative AI can be learned from the existing artifact, new realistic art, and generate the new data. It just generate the content, images, video, music, speech, text software, product design, what you want to ask from the generative AI. It will give you a different perspective, what you have, and when you just come see the result from the generative AI is totally different. So yes, few use cases the generative AI is gonna using it. So coming to the text generation, so these are the things. Text generation, let's say you have a client and you want to do some for a personalization market pitch, or you have to do a summarization, you can simply go and use a text generation. In fact, image generation, brand creation, gaming character, you can simply use a Gen AI for image creation. Code generation, these days, every organization is following the standards. What is the quality of the data? How the quality of the data look like? So you can go and use a code generation or some different tools is be available in the market. You can go and simply use that one. In fact, translation in the real time, you just want to understand the other person. Let's say you went to Spain and you just want to understand what other person is trying to communicate with you. So in the real time, that is a game changer as a translations. In fact, medical science is be using life sciences. They are very promising about the Gen AI side. Okay, so as I talk, what is a generative AI? Language models, as I said in the language model. So language model is basically when you passing any input and you get the output. Image model is that. So what is diffusion? So don't worry about that one. I will explain what is diffusion. So when you just passing an image, it will create the multi other images as well. Which image you like more? So generate the more images, which is be using for a Gen AI. So as I said in the starting, you having a text. That text is be our translation. If you just passing an input as a text, it can generate use for a translation, summarization, question and answering, and the grammar check itself. As an output image, you can generate the image creation, video generation. Let's say, can you create an image for a cat who is drinking a milk? So just pass this text and it will generate it. Can you show me a Obama clip for motivation? So it will trying to create that thing as well. Text to speech. If you're having some audio recording, you want to generate the text, yes, you can go and use that. You can go and take that leverage as well. So these are the text space. So as I said in the starting, so this is a real picture about the code generation, code compilation, bug fixing. You are not aware where you having hundreds of lines of code, and you are honestly not aware which particular segment I just go and fix my code. What is the standardization of the code I just need to follow? Just use a Gen AI. It can help you to fix the bug. At the same time, it will compile the code properly in the structured format. So that's the other thing. Coming to the text generation, if you are coming from the marketing field, if you are coming from the content generation point of view, chatbot. This is one of the most exciting thing. And now company, recently you have heard the news that one of the organization has fired mostly employees. Well, I'm not scaring you, but the thing is that everything they train their data with the help of a chatbot, train their data with the help of a large language model and a Gen AI, and build the chatbot. Now the chatbot is same act like a human being, and it will giving a proper, well-structured response. Well, similar like a personalization point of view. So that's the key shape or the different shift around the human to machine. So that's where the chatbot is be quite popular in terms of that way. So if I summarize from program writing, writing assistance, solve homework, sentiment writing, copywriting, question and answer, classifying the text, each and every case scenario can be covered by a Gen AI. So these are the ample of examples related with the image, text, code, video. If you want to generate some 3D side, you can simply go use that one. If you want to use a Gen AI into a medical side, simply you can go and avail that. So how the industry is be revolving. So this is the big pioneer organization where the industry is be using by, in fact, each and every organization is exploring around the generative AI, how they can take the leverage of a generative AI and build such a sustainable product around it, which can help on the customer experience point of view. At the same time, it can help on the revenue point of view. And last not least, it can reduce the operation cost and increase the revenue. So these are the key factors where the generative AI is being revolving. As I said, customer support, healthcare domain, to be retail, to be media and gaming, and so on and so forth. Different organization is going and using about the generative AI. So now I'm just be talk about this one. So let's take another example. Just a second. Okay. So as I said in the starting, you just pass the text input, and based on that text input, it will create the image. So this is an example about the stable diffusion. So in that generation where you have to just passing the text prompt, and it will come with the output as an image. So AI. So these are the foundations models. So firstly, how the generative AI is be as a future of work. So information collection, research, insight, innovation, and based on that, you have to take the decision. So they are using some AI enabler knowledge worker, which is based on the safety, ethics, and the compliance. It can directly can align with your strategic work, like how you have enhanced your communications, how you can enhance your better reach out to your customer, what is a optimization business. So designing the UI and the EX experience, imagining about the think around the new product and the process, optimizing the business operations and the administration point of view. So these are the things which is be aligned with the generative AI and the future work. So now this is a segment which is be a very tricky part. If you are thinking, okay, generative AI is be quite promising and it will be really helpful from my organization. If you think around the generative AI or the ChatGPT, this will come with some obviously cost, right? That cost is related with the bias, hallucinations, and the prompt hacking. How your input context is be so smart in that way. So let's understand, if I am just be going and just say what is 100, and can you do some simple math calculation? The answer is be wrong when you're just passing as some input to your model and the model coming with the wrong output. What food is served in the wedding? So that's where the hallucination effect is be there. And sometimes we have seen in the chat GPT or the other stuff in the Gen AI, it's be a kind of a bias. There's always the risk associated with that one. So these are some challenging thing around the chat GPT. Around, if you go and think, if you are just trying to use a chat GPT or the Gen AI, please make sure hallucinations and the bias is be a kind of a challenges in terms of a generative AI. So okay. So when you're building any kind of a use cases, so you have to understand how accurate your response is. So this is the first thing which is be looking around it. what is the best ROI? So if you're going and using ChatGPT or the Gen AI, what is the return of investment? Because at the same time, the cost is associated with the Gen AI, and or the ChatGPT. How long your model? So let's say if you are working with the healthcare domain, and your data is be quite crucial, and your data is be quite critical, you can't go and using a OpenAI or the ChatGPT, because your information, the information which is only accessible to your organization, now it will be accessible to whole worldwide. So think around that side as well. Safety monitoring, that is a what is a model response? Did your model is be going and changing across the version? Is your model is related with the bias? So let's say if you are using a model as a uh, uh, let's say you train your model with the using of a Gen AI or the Chat GPT, and you just you are working with the banking where you just passing a some loan application. Based on that loan application, model is very biased towards a male gender mode, and when any female gender is applying for a loan, model is biased not and reject that particular application. So that is a kind of a biasness. How long, let's say you're just passing an input, how long your model is going and predict that one. And the prompt monitoring, if your prompt structure is getting changed, did your model is be in getting the right output? So these are the some key important things which you have to think around it. So obviously, so these are the things which we, before going and talk around those things, let me talk very specific few things about the Gen AI, how the Gen AI is be working. So let's say first one, image variations or the thing. So let's say if I just pick some images and just trying, so this is a original image. If you see, this is a, just a second. So this is a original image, and the based on that original image, it trying to create the some new images for me. So if you see, parallelly, it will trying to create the some new images. So this is an example about the Gen AI. So generative AI is generate the text, at the same time it generate the images, at the same time it generate the output. So the prompt is mine. I just be, this is a kind of an image variation. So it taking the new image, and the based on the original image, it come with the some new images, which is quite interesting and which is be quite beautiful landscape. I just want to give you here. So now this is a other example. Now you having a very large paragraph and you want to summarize that one. You want, okay, can you do me a favor? Can you write some key important pointers for myself? Yes, it will do it. So this is a text which I'm just be using. And if I ask him to, can you generate? So here I just, if you're having some PDF file, simple go, you can use that PDF file. If you want some, if you're having some link and you just want to go and just pass that link, you can go and just use that one. And the paste text. So here I'm just be pasting a text around the large language model. And I just say that, can you re-summarize it? Can you paraphrasing around it? So simple, I just go and click around it. I don't go with the paragraph. I just feel more interested on the bullet points. So it will summarize that way in that way. So if you, so this is calling as a, in the real time, you just share the feedback. Are you like this context or the context which is generated by a large language model or the Chat GPT? Do you like that particular context or not? So these are the few things which you can look around the generative AI, how the generative AI is being capable of getting the right input as an output. So this is just a tool. If you want to summarize in a bullet point, you don't want to go, let's say you're having a very large paragraph and you want to focus on the very important key pointers. So you just generate here. It will take a minute to generate the key important pointers from the data and give it back to you. So as I said, it will take out the some key important pointers. What is large language model? what is transformer, how the transformer is shaping up a large language model, and what is the role around it. I hope my screen is visible to all of you in that way. Just a second. Guys, sorry. So I'm just be talking about this particular use case. This is a image. I'm just be passing this image. And when I'm just passing this image as a generative AI, it understands the original image. Based on that original image, it trying to replicate the new images, which is be generated by your Gen AI. So if you see, it will take a minute to understand the original image and trying to replicate the new images. So that's one example about the Gen AI. So if you see, this is a one image. So this is the original image, and this is a new images has been created by a Gen AI. So this is a quite interesting thing. So you just go and just use around it. Other example, I'm talking about this one. So here, this is I having some paragraph, and I'm not interested. I just want to understand the summarization or the key bullet pointer. So here you're having a paragraph or the bullet points. You can upload the file if you're having some PDF file. Simply go and export that PDF file. You having a URL, you just simply go and use that URL, or the paste text, you can go and simply use that one. So I'm just using some paragraph, and I just click on the bullet point, and it will take a minute to identify what are the key important pointers in this particular paragraph and generate the output. So if you see, they are machine learning models generating human, they are based on the transformer, so and so forth. So these are the things which is be examples about the Gen AI. Apart from that, there's a one use case which I just want to talk around it. So before that, I just want to talk around the chat OpenAI. Okay, so in that chat OpenAI, let me log in. Okay, so just a minute. Now, when you're talking about the ChatGPT or something, so just a simple, as in the starting, I said that ChatGPT generate the text, right? Can you write a bio for a data scientist, right? Simple. I just passed this one for 200 lines. Let's so this is a prompt which I'm just be going and using that prompt. So it can go and write each and very structured way to generate what is things which we are around related with the data science side, right? So it trained with the vast amount of that data. That data has been trained, and based on that data, it's trying to generate the new context, and that is a new text. Okay, so this is a large language model. How, if I say, can you generate an image for a cat? So this is a one prompt. I'm just be passing. So what do you think? It will generate the image? Yes or no? I probably guess on your own. So it will not generate the image. So if you see, it will say, I am a text-based AI. I cannot generate the image. So the ChatGPT is a part of a large language model, which can generate the text. When it's come to a generative AI, as I said in the starting, when it's come to a generative AI, so in that generative AI, you can generate the text, you can fix the code, you can generate the image for your media, for your consumer. In fact, audio to text, you can simply use the speech, video, 3D, and other activities in a generative AI. When it's come to a large language model, No. In the large language model, you just only use text. Passing an input as a text, you get the as an output. If you look around some other things, it will not happen. So be very precise. If I'm talking about the let's say if I'm talking about the housing.com. So how the housing.com or the anything. So if I just pick the housing.com as a use case where I just want to implement a generative AI, I can probably thought around the property valuation, which can I'm just be defined as a use case. I can pick that one. Property search, where the generative AI coming with the better recommendations or creating some visualization effect from the 3D point of view. Understand the personalization recommendation, and based on that, the user perspective. Pricing optimization. So when I'm pricing a rental property, generative AI model can predict the optimal rent amount, considering the market trends, demand, and the competition. When I'm talking about the predictive maintenance within a housing property, where I can simply use artificial intelligence can predict when the property will be require maintenance or repair or the prioritize on the other task as well. Same thing, let's say if you want to implement in the finance, if you belong from the finance and you want to use a generative AI, the first thing, fraud detection. So the way you have swipe your card, this transaction is a correct transaction or this transaction is a genuine transaction or is a fraudulent transaction. Credit score. When you think around the credit score, analyze the based on your data as an income, employment history, credit history to predict the credit worthiness of an entity or individual. So this is a credit scoring. Risk management. If I give a loan for this particular user or this particular applicant, this user will be a future defaulter or not, where you can simply go and use around the generative AI. In fact, these days, I have seen a couple of chatbot is using a portfolio management. They have trained on the generative AI. They know how the data can be, which you can build your chatbot around the generative AI for portfolio management to help to optimize the investment portfolio, find the best investment opportunity, considering risk, return, and the volatility when the market is going up trend or the downtrend. So it will do a good recommendation if you go and just use around the Gen AI. Trading, people are generally using, I have seen mostly organizations are using for a generative AI as a training with the help of define the AI trading strategy can be generated, executed, and the considering the market valuation around the historical data. In fact, code generation, you have heard about the Microsoft Copilot. That is other game changer, which is be there in terms of this thing. So as I said, I have just shown few things and the trustworthiness and the OpenAI, how the OpenAI and all these factors are coming and playing an important role with the help of an industry point of view. So now, if you are think around the what are the benefit and the application of a generative AI, what are the risks associated of the generative AI, how you can go and implement the generative AI in your business, what are the best practices for using a generative AI. So these are the key important pointers which you can look around and play with that particular stuff. So recently, yesterday, I just be working on if I just find it out, I just be working with the one generative AI and I ask, can you create a PPT for me? And that particular site, which is using under the hood, they are using a generative AI model and they create a new images for me or new PPT or with the content is created for me. So if you see DAL A2 is one of the generative AI model, which can realistic image and a description in the natural language processing. So just go about the realistic, just pass some text and it will generate the image for you. If you want to do out painting, in painting variations with respect to about this one, you can simply go and play around this point. So there are so many other things you can go and enjoy with the ChatGPT, GPT-4, DAL3. What are the customer success story around it? What and at the end, what are the safety standard they just belong around it? And what is a token? What is the cost associated with this one? So these are the things which is be really covering with each and everything. So in fact, same thing has been coming with the Bard. So this is a Google product. If you see, this is a Google product. So let's say here they ask for a prompt. So if I say, can you generate an image for a cat? Another same example, but you need to guess this is a large language model or this is a generative AI. If I'm just be passing some input, so it will trying to understand and trying to, I cannot create the image, so I'm not able to help you with you that. Okay, so this is also a large language model. So Bard, ChatGPT. So these are the models which is be related with the mostly related with the I would say mostly it's related with the text generation. Bard or the ChatGPT, which is related with the text generation models. Okay, so these are the things which you can play around it, or can you show? So here you have some options as well. You can go and understand what are the risk associated. Let's say if you want to upload some file and you want to summarize something, you can simply go and summarize that particular thing. But at the same time, I'm just be trying to showcase one other example. This is a Flanty 5. So Flanty 5 is another text-to-text generation, but in some particular operation, your model is getting failed. So let's say this is I'm just be taking an example of a Google Flanty 5. This is related with the Hugging Face. So if I ask, okay, can you do a calculation for 200 and let's say, and another number is 500. What is the total value? So this is just an example I'm just be passing. In some particular, I talk about the hallucination. So it trying to understand and trying to go understand the context. With the help of this context, it trying to take out the some output from that particular data, right? So that's the way he can think around it. So if you see the output 200 plus 500, the output is 5,000. So that's where the hallucination effect is be there. So hallucination means your model has been trained on the images, your model is trained on the text data, your model is trained on the mathematical data, but in the few cases, it cannot able to do a simple calculation. So when you just go and use around this particular specific thing for your use case, make sure that your data is coming with the right output. And for every use cases, do you think you can go and taking a leverage of a generative AI on the large language model? Because at the starting, I said that it will associated with the cost. So that's the one thing. So just look around the output, as I said. So what are the challenges if I just simply passing the input to my model and my model come with the wrong output in that way? In fact, there's a, you heard about the code pilot. So this is a other code pilot, which is coming from the Microsoft, where you can simply go and use the code pilot to fix your code. If you find some bugs or you want to do some standardization, you can simply go and take that look around the code pilot AI. It can go and fix all your code around that one. So that's the way. So now if you are going and talk around the generative AI or the large language model, and you probably recommend some use cases to for your organization, make sure or remember around this particular picture, which is be more important, uh, how accurate your response is. If you're going and use some use cases and applying a generative AI or the large language model, what is the best ROI? Sometimes you can simply use a machine learning use cases and build the business case scenario. But I know generative AI and a large language model is a next generation AI. So what is the best ROI? How long your model is taking and generate the output? Is your model is really biased? And is your model response is safe? So these are the things which you have. If I just type just a example and just be taking that, if I say how I'm creating a bomb with a generative AI. So these are the things which is be quite safety standard point of view. You have to think around it and make sure that is be safety measurement should be applicable with respect to about your use cases and other stuff. So latency point of view, transparency point of view, bias points of view, and the correctness point of view, these are all associated with your large language model and the generative AI. If you want to go and use around these use cases, simply go and use that one. But at the same time, please focus on the correctness, performance, cost, prompt monitoring, latency, transparency, bias, A/B testing, and the safety measurement. These are quite important for any use case. If you go and evolve your use case around Gen AI or the large language model. So with that said, if you guys have any questions, anything, I'm happy to take up.
Yeah, feel free to ask your questions. You can also, if you want to ask directly, you can raise your hand. So we'll allow you to talk.
One thing just want to add on, just if you guys get a chance, just read about the transformer. What is transformer? Because the generative AI or the large language model, or these are the things which is be already these are the things which is already associated with the transformer architecture. So these are the architecture which is be important for each and everything. Either you're going with the ChatGPT, you're going with the BART, or you're going with the to beat any other foundation models or the large language models or the generative AI, the base is transformer. So if you want to focus on the transformer, you will get the more insight, more clear understanding how technically it will work on that. So transformer is basically an encoder and a decoder. And encoder and a decoder, apart from that, they having a multi-head attention mechanism, which they just follow and generate. So I'm not going too much in a technical depth, but yes, if you get the opportunity, feel free to read about more on the transformer.
So hi Amit, you can unmute yourself. You can
Yes, sir. How will we use this generative AI with our existing softwares of Microsoft Word or Excel?
So Microsoft giving us some kind of API or the key integrations features, so that you can simply call out those APIs. If you, let's say, if you are working in a travel domain and you want to build a customized chatbot for your customer, right? Where you just want to use as a team, as a chatbot for your customer. So you can call out your OpenAI as a large language model, integrate with your chatbot, and you can generate the output. So that's the API which you need to call out from that, from the Microsoft.
Okay.
I think if you're using a Google product, or I'm not going with the bias, if you're using a Google product, so they're having a Vertex AI Gen AI place. If you're using Azure, they're having Azure OpenAI. I think same thing I just mentioned over here. If you're using Amazon, so Amazon coming with their own, they have tie up with the Hugging Face and the Amazon Bedrock. So that's the thing. If you are using a Microsoft, they have a OpenAI. So basically, OpenAI is coming from the Microsoft itself, and the Google having a Palm. So if you go and just feel free to use that one, so that's good for you. I'm happy to take any other questions and any thoughts around it. So, but if I summarize, if I quickly summarize what is what you understand. So initially we started with the large language model. I'm not talking about the large language model. So language model, based on that context, when you're typing anything in an email, when you type anything in a Gmail, so based on the past context, based on the previous context, you understand to predict the next higher probability of that word. So this is a language model. Then large language model is coming into the picture, which in the starting, I just showcased this particular slide. The large language model is the example about this one. So if you see in the language model, where we having a text-to-text T5 or the diffusion models or the Lambda, so different models has been come up, which can train on the vast amount of data, all the internet data, all the Wikipedia data they have taken, train their data. Now, with the help of that data, they are trying to generate the new context, new data points. So that's exactly they are did. So they are trying to generate the new text data. So that's where the new content has been created by a generative AI. So generative AI is dealing with the images, audio, video, code fixing, everything is be taken care by a generative AI. Large language model is only deal with the text data. So that's the differentiation between the large language model and the generative AI. So when I say generative AI, it deal with the text generation, to be image generation, code generation, life science, translation, each and everything. Apart from that, so if you're passing, so there are so many other use cases which you can simply use Gen AI and do it in that manner. So these are the some content creations, marketing, branding. In fact, write some blogs for yourself, or to do a summarization, or code fixing, or bug fixing, standardization of your code. Each and everything will be taken care by a generative AI. So that's why industries be rapidly align with these particular use cases, because these are the data which is beyond structured data. So your large language model or the generative AI has been trained on the structured, unstructured, or semi-structured data. On top of it, under the hood, they are using a transformer architecture to train this, the way the model is to generate the new content or the new creation of the data. So
that's great. So I have one question, just out of curiosity I'm asking. So I know we are able to build chatbot using ChatGPT, correct? So if you can give some more context, like how can we do it? If you can give a little more insight about that.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, I have is a good question. So this is a use case where, let's say you build a chatbot. Okay, so for that chatbot, we need a data. Let's understand this way. This is a use case. Let's say you're having working with some travel domain. You have so much documentation, and you don't know which policy, which policy we need to call out, which policy we have to refer for a customer experience, which policy we have to refer for a UK region, which policy we have to refer for a USA region. So when you're having a bunch of data records, you combine all these records. And once you have this record, you're just using a transformer. So this is a way which I'm just be talking about the query sentence. So basically, you have embedding your data. So basically, you are using some sentence transformer, or you can use some OpenAI here. Okay, OpenAI, which can generate the vector. Okay, When you generate the vector of the sentence, every vector is aligned with the embedding. And that embedding, every vector is aligned with the embedding. That embedding is, so basically when we're using a vector database is managing your embeddings with the index way. So when you're having an index stored, so think about the Spotify. When you search anything within a second, it can give you a result. Think around the Google or the Binge. When you search anything, it will generate the output. So exactly same like your chatbot. When you're having a, let's say you're having a bunch of millions of document and you don't want to know which document you need to refer. So you simply create a chatbot. Okay, can you show me a customer retention policy? Automatically it will go as a chatbot. It will take your request, get back and generate the output. Under the hood, they are using a OpenAI. If you are using a Microsoft product, they generate the vector. Vector, why? What is the role of a vector? Vector is managing an embedding. That embedding, which is stored as an index, and it will come with the most relevant sentences or the output. So this is a way it trying to come as an output. So that's the structured way when you're using any chatbot or the any use cases. You have to chunk your data. Then you have to generate the vectors or the embedding. That embedding you need to store in your databases. And when you next time search anything, it will come and generate the output. Does it make sense to all of you?
Yes. So it's very interesting.
I think that's a good question. So I just forget to mention about this use case. So either you're using a chatbot or either you are using a document management or either you're having a bunch of document and you want to simply build a chatbot for your stakeholders or the customers. Simple, you just go and use that one. In fact, recently I heard this news, Dukaan.com. This is a startup. Earlier they're having a 200 employees who can, as a backend, they are just building a chatbot, and they just based on the user request, they are response that one. So now Dukaan.com is using ChatGPT or the OpenAI, taking that leverage. Now they do not need those resources. Now only one resource, which is be OpenAI or the ChatGPT, is using and taking care about the chatbot end to end very well. So, yep.
That's really nice. Really interesting that companies are doing. Yeah, I think we are running out of time. It's already 12. I think attendees, you're free to ask questions, and we have one question. Hi, Rohit and team. If anything, okay. There's one question by Satyadas. May I know if there is any integration or use cases between AI and blockchain?
Yeah, AI and obviously this is a very interesting question. So yeah, so I just asked another question, like you are talking about which specific case scenario. Yes, AI with the blockchain is be highly in demand. People are using that one in fact of the transactions maintenance, where they just want to understand, or the property management, where the AI and the blockchain is being highly integrated in that way, in that particular realm. And people are using OpenAI to manages all these, you integrate with your blockchain in that particular case scenario. Property paper transfer, this is the first property or the second property owner, or the who's this property. In fact, Bitcoin is being managed by these things is being managed by a blockchain itself. So where the OpenAI, Bitcoins, and the ChatGPT is already integrated with this one, and people are using this way.
A really great session, Rohit.
Thank you.
We had a really good insight from you. Even though it's being a long weekend, I would like to thank all the attendees taking out your time and joining this session. And once again, I really want to thank Rohit for taking out your time from your busy schedule and giving us this wonderful session, an insightful session. So once again, Rohit, thank you so much for this session. So
Thank
we're
you,
looking
Nilesh.
forward to have more session. And just to add on, we'll be conducting this AI webinars on a bi-weekly basis. So feel follow our LinkedIn pages for the more updates which we'll be throwing at. And once again, thank you everyone for taking out your time and attending this session. I hope this was a insightful session for all of you. And once again, thank you for Rohit for your insightful
Thank you for
session.
lovely audience. Thank you.